Not many people today could have stood the challenges of medieval times. From hygiene issues to unusual torture methods, chances are most of us would have had our spirits broken. Yet, if you are one of those people who find themselves inclined towards researching morbid ways to go back, then this might just be for you. This is one of the history's most gruesome forms of punishments. Number 1. Blood Eagle. In popular lore, few images are as synonymous with Viking brutality as the Blood Eagle, a practice that allegedly found torturers separating the victim's ribs from their spine, pulling their bones and skin outwards to form a set of wings, and removing their lungs from their chest cavity. Number 2. The Breaking Wheel. It is also known as the Wheel of Catherine or Execution Wheel. This horrifying contraption was used in Europe from ancient times up until the Middle Ages. It was used to punish those convicted of heinous crimes like murder and rape. How this type of torture took place? The ones being punished would be paraded into the public stage and securely tied to the floor. This left them completely at the mercy of executioners. Then the wheel would make its grand entrance. It was typically a modified wooden carriage wheel with an iron rim. But this wheel had a twist, quite literally. There was an extended blade designed to maximize the pain. The wheel would repeatedly drop onto the person's body. It became from the shins and worked its way upwards. The aim was to inflict as much mutilation and agony as possible. All the while, they had to keep in mind that the punishment would not cause immediate death. The ordeal was nothing short of horrifying. Needless to say, this left the victim broken, battered, and on the brink of their final breath. Number 3. Flaying. Flaying is an ancient and particularly frowned upon method of torture and execution, which involves the use of blade to remove several layers of victim's skin, exposing nerve and muscle tissue, leaving them in perpetual agony, assuming they survive the ordeal at all. The practice of flaying is commonly and notoriously associated with House Bolton, an ancient northern house with blood of the first men dating back to the age of heroes, to the point that they took a flayed man as their sigil. Members of the family and their households are fond of saying, "A naked man has few secrets, a flayed man none." Number 4. Keel hauling, an infamous punishment used to maintain order at the sea in the 17th and 18th centuries. Keel hauling was when sailors would be dragged under the ships as punishment, said to be used by the navy and pirates in the 17th and 18th century. It was a form of punishment in which victim is suspended by a rope from the mast of the ship, with a weight attached to his legs. Once the crew members let go of the rope, the victim falls to the sea and it's dragged along the keel, or we can say bottom of the ship, hence the name keel hauling. Aside from the obvious discomfort, this part of the ship was encrusted with barnacles, causing lacerations to the victim being keel hauled. Number 5. This torture method tops our list of most brutal punishments in history. This is scaphism. Scaphism was one of the most horrific forms of execution imaginable and was only ordered by the king when he hated someone. The first step was to strip the intended victim naked and placed inside either a hollowed out tree or two boards. The person's head, feet, and arm would stick out and be exposed to the sun. Next, the victim was force fed honey and milk until he had diarrhea and filled the trunk with his own filth. This was just the start of the ordeal. The torturers rubbed honey over the exposed part of the victim to ensure insects would fly over and nestle on the victim's body. Bugs ate away at the flesh, and flies would arrive and viciously sting the person over and over again. Sadly, there was no respite for the victim as the torturers would do their utmost to keep him alive as long as possible by continuing this force feeding process. At this point, the victim would be thrown into a stagnant pond, still in their prison, and after a few days, their mind would start to deteriorate. Eventually, delirium set in, and when death finally came, it was normally due to septic shock as they were eaten from the inside